We've got the low-to-earth chairs out.
Wait, hang on. Wait a minute. In my beautiful balloon from the fifth dimension, are we traveling by hot air balloon now?
As the pandemic continues and the holiday season approaches, many people are wondering, should they plan travel? Here with some advice and guidance, please welcome back the points guy, Brian Kelly. So good to see you, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
What are experts saying? What are they suggesting?
Well, can you travel? The answer is yes. Americans are allowed to travel. You know, a lot of countries like Australia and even the UK now are locking down their citizens. The US, we allow our citizens to travel, except there aren't that many countries that will even allow us in. So there's some Caribbean islands, but in general, international travel's not really an option for most people.
So where can Americans go?
Yeah, so there's a lot of places. I was in Antigua. That was my first trip. The Bahamas are reopening, Maldives, French Polynesia. So there are some exotic places to go. Most of them require a negative PCR test. Dubai is now open. I'm actually thinking about Rwanda over New Year's Eve to trek with the gorillas.
The life you live.
Yes.
What about during the pandemic and thinking closer to home here in the States? Do you think it'll be less crowded? It won't be as difficult to book things?
Absolutely. So I've been traveling quite a bit. And so the TSA, we just hit 1 million screened passengers about 2 weeks ago. That's down from 2.5 million a year before. But there are a lot of people still traveling. So it really depends. Some airports look like pre-pandemic. But back to like where we can travel, even within the U.S., there are a lot of different rules. New York State now has a quarantine rule. So you have to come in with a negative test and quarantine for 3 days before you get tested again.
Are people keeping track of people who are quarantining?
You know, that's the million-dollar question. There's so many different, you know, everyone now, every state has to. So it's really an honor policy. I do think a lot of people, you know, are good people and will honor it. But, you know, it's hard when there's just millions of people on that quarantine.
And it's fluid, so you do need to check state to state with what's happening.
Hawaii's pretty tough as well. But in general, most other states are, you know, New York and Hawaii are the toughest, and Alaska.
What are the deals for people? Because I would think right now, because it seems like everybody's willing to make a deal, airlines should be no exception. So
Absolutely.
What are the deals they offer?
There have been incredible deals. So, I mean, in general, domestic travel is 25% cheaper than it was a year ago. So not, you know, but some routes, you know, really cheap. But also, there are places now, like even the hotel rates in the Hamptons were skyrocketed this summer. You know, so there's not deals everywhere to be had. There, you know, ski destinations this winter are already booking up like crazy. But a lot of hotels have had deals where if you book in advance, they'll give you a discount. But, you know, it's really a game because these things change day by day. So I highly recommend. I'm a procrastinator in general. I wait until the last minute to see how things are.
But what if you're a planner and
we are planners.
And you're a wishful thinker and you think it's going to be okay, but then you have to back out? What are the hotels and airlines doing?
The great news is through the end of the year, almost every airline is offering free changes. So even if you get cold feet and don't want to go, they'll give you a voucher for the cost of your flight.
Okay.
Most of the major airlines have gone a step further. I was shocked. This is, as a travel expert, I couldn't believe. So United started it, but now all the major airlines forever, so they say, will allow change fees. So the good news is you can book Europe for next summer if you see an amazing deal. And there are a lot of good ones out there. And, you know, even if Europe's not open or the country you're going, you can always change and, you know, retain the value of that ticket.
Yeah, we got lucky that we were supposed to go somewhere and we canceled, obviously, because of the pandemic. And they were very generous. They said that we could delay our trip up to 1.5 years, and they gave us like these other windows where we could have our trip.
It's not always the case. So I really recommend like looking into everything's the devil's in the details. A lot of hotels still don't have the cancellation. So if you see a good deal on a hotel and it's not cancelable, I recommend just give a call and say, hey, look, make this a refundable rate and I'll book it. And never hurts to ask.
All right, let's get a quick break. We'll come back with more holiday travel tips when we come back. Stay with us.
Back with the points guy, Brian Kelly, who, as you know, asked me to marry him, so my name will be Kelly.
Really?
No, I'm already married. I told you.
I missed
It'll never
marriage
happen.
it's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so which airlines are blocking out seats? Because my girlfriend just flew to Miami from California, and she was on a packed flight with a seatmate right next to her.
So look, there have been some good airlines and some naughty ones, and a lot of people think every airline is, rolling out the red carpet. It's just not the case. The best two, so Delta and Alaska, are blocking middle seats and restricting capacity through early January. So whether you travel Thanksgiving or end of year. And Southwest and JetBlue have been great. They're blocking until early December, so you can still get it in for the Thanksgiving travel. But every other airline, expect that plane to be full. And even though less people are traveling, it doesn't mean the planes are empty. Airlines will cut flights to jam those planes full, and a lot of flights are full, so choose your airline wisely.
Should we make an 80s playlist and drive?
Oh my gosh, what a great idea.
We've seen RV rentals have been through the roof. Driving is definitely an option, especially if you go to, national parks, but don't assume that driving is safer than flying. When flying these days, masks are mandatory throughout the airport. The airlines have gone above and beyond cleaning. You're not going to necessarily get that level of clean at a rest stop, somewhere along the interstate. So here's the thing with air travel. Most airlines now board from back to front. The tip is the least amount of time you're on the plane, the better. So I recommend choose a seat in the front of the aircraft, also window seats, because you automatically don't have someone next to you. And I've talked to a lot of doctors, wearing a mask, obviously, take it down just when you eat or drink, but wearing a face shield during boarding especially, because that's when you might be crowded on the jet bridge and people coming down the aisle looking at you. Having it on the whole time is great, but at least for the boarding process, having that is a plus.
People really don't understand what 6 feet means.
Personal
or 12.
distance,
They just can't. I think we're just such creatures of...
When we're our height, we really know what 6 feet is.
I know, we
because
do. We
aspire to be
understand
it
what 6
someday.
feet is, but most people, 6 inches, 6 feet, it's all the same.
But one of the other quotes, so the TSA has a new rule, so you can actually bring up to 12 ounces of hand sanitizer, and that's allowed. So you don't have to take it from your personal allotments. That's one cool thing of the...
So the bending of the rules for the good.
Exactly.
Great to see you. Great tips, Brian Kelly. Thank you so much. All that advice and more up at KellyandRyan.com.